Hello everyone, welcome to this big tutorial. I'm Daniel from Frankfurt am Main, Germany, and today I would like to introduce the new GoPro Hero 10 Black. Of course, in this video you will see some example footage from this camera, like photos, like videos, like time warp videos, like time-lapse videos, and lots of other examples. But it's not a review about this camera, it's a big tutorial. I will start from the beginning, how to put in the battery, how to put in the micro SD card, how to transfer files from this camera onto your computer, which card reader is useful, how you can transfer the files from this camera onto your smartphone or tablet, how to share them with friends, how you can do remote controlling. I will explain everything, how you can change the frame rate, how you can change the resolution. From the beginning on, I will tell you everything. I make this video basically every year with every new GoPro which comes onto the market. Since the GoPro Hero 7 Black, the principle is basically the same. Since the GoPro Hero 8 Black, there hasn't been any major changes except that this one here has, compared to the GoPro Hero 9, a really good low light performance. On the GoPro Hero 9 I didn't really like the low light performance, but this one here is much better in my point of view. The power bank is useful if you're on the go, if you're doing camping or anything like this, if you're in the wild and there is no electricity. This power bank can help you a lot to charge the camera straight away. And now let's jump into it. I might do this video today and tomorrow since I don't have too much time today and the microphone is dying already. I can see that and I have to charge it in a moment. So if I have a different dress tomorrow, don't wonder why. That's the Joby Gorilla Pod with bendable legs, which is pretty cool to put it around a tree, for instance. If you would like to film yourself without holding the camera at the same time. It's also available in two smaller versions. So this one is kind of big for such a small camera. However, I have this one quite a few times with me when it comes to filming. That's actually the bigger one, which is the 5K version, which I use also on my mirrorless cameras. However, as I said, there are two smaller versions which are more useful for your GoPro. Two small tripods which can help you a lot. There's not much stuff you need to carry around with you. That's my favorite one because it sits really close to the ground. And for this one, as you can see here on the top, that's a normal tripod screw. And the GoPro has this action mount on the lower side, which pops out like this. And to use it on a tripod like this, you need an adapter. You probably get like 5 of them for about 5 to 6 euros on Amazon. Then put in this action mount screw, which is already included in the GoPro package. There's a Media Mod around the camera at the moment, so don't wonder why your GoPro looks different than mine. And from here on, you can attach it to this tripod. Really easy, really simple, and not much to carry around with you. A tripod, no, that's not a tripod. It has a tripod clamp, but that's a clamp also for your action cameras. Really cool. If you're, for instance, a barista, a bartender, and you would like to do some, I don't know, time-lapse of your bar, or if you would like to do a time-lapse somewhere else, you have this arm here with two ball heads, so you can turn it 360 degrees around. Really great, build quality is nice and not too expensive. Link in the video description. Here's my favorite suction cup. If you have seen the one from GoPro, it works as well. It's not too expensive. This one here costs around 80 to 90 euros, but it's really worth its money. I was with this suction cup in Greece. I put it on the car for hours. I did time warp videos, time-lapse videos, and it never fell off. Obviously, it's a little bit more heavy than the one from GoPro, but it has one major advantage that the one from GoPro doesn't have. The advantage is really little, however, it makes a huge difference. And up here, you have a ball head included. So you can turn your camera 360 degrees already around without connecting any additional adapters to the one from GoPro. And while the GoPro only tilts in this way and in this way, but cannot be rotated 360 degrees around. So it might be an option for you to think about it, to spend some extra money on it. And the same company does also some extension arms if you require them. For instance, like this. So here, 2 ball heads included. If you need an extension, that's a really simple thing to do. Get out the action screw, put the arm in here, attach the screw back to this arm. Here's your GoPro, and there we go. It holds a lot of things. Really, really useful in my point of view. That's only a recommendation, but it makes a lot of difference if you kind of work a lot with your GoPro. That's my favorite accessory for the GoPro Hero 9 Black and the GoPro Hero 10 Black, since they have the same housing. That's the Media Mod. As you can see, it makes your camera a little bit bigger. However, you have an external microphone up here. You have 2 cold shoe adapters, which can be used to attach a video light or an external microphone like this one here, tiny one. Just slide it into the cold shoe and then you have a better audio quality. Now you can attach it to the 3.5 millimeter adapter. Here's another USB Type-C port, which is really useful if you need to charge your camera while you use it. And up here is an HDMI port if you would like to connect this camera to your TV at home. And it looks like this. I can also attach the microphone to the top and the video light to the side. That's a microphone for about $100, but it improves the audio quality of your GoPro a lot. And you can still have access to the action mount here on the lower side. Make sure once you have attached this Media Mod to go into the settings. I will tell you that straight away. Go down to mods, and here is the Media Mod, which pops up here. I'll come to the menu later on. This is a microphone which runs without batteries, so it's a standard microphone. If you think it doesn't record at a proper level, select a standard microphone plus, so it enhances the audio quality a little bit, it makes it a little bit more louder. If you have a microphone which has batteries, for instance a wireless microphone that I use at the moment, make sure to select active microphone. If it's not loud enough, select active microphone plus. GoPro Hero 10 Black together with an active microphone. At the moment I'm using the Rode Wireless Go, a wireless microphone attached to my shirt here. GoPro Hero 10 Black together with the Media Mod, and I'm using a standard microphone at the moment. In this case it's the Sennheiser MKE 200 for about $100. It's a really cool microphone, really compact, runs without batteries, and that's the audio quality. A last test, that's the microphone of the Media Mod attached to the GoPro Hero 10 Black. I'm filming myself 5.3K, 50 frames per second in wide angle. Internal microphone of the GoPro Hero 10 Black. You will get the GoPro like this here. At the top is the start and a stop button for recording videos, for taking photos. Here at the side is the battery door. That's the on and off button. And at the lower side, the action mount. The door we will open in a second. That's the lens, which you can also detach from your camera. And then the GoPro looks like this. To put the lens back on, just do it the same way as I did at the beginning. Bam, now it's attached. To open the battery door, use this slider down here. You might need a coin, otherwise your nails might break off. So just push that down and then pull it upwards. If you would like to detach the battery door, simply do this. To put it back on, as you can see, here's the mechanism. Let me make it a little bit more bright. That's the mechanism. Push it back in. It's a little bit tricky, but it doesn't take too much of your time. So open it. I will keep it open just for demonstration purposes. Get the battery out, and as you can see, there are some pins inside, and here is the battery. So make sure these pins go into the right holes of the battery and push it back in, and then the battery shouldn't stand up. If you put the battery the wrong direction, it will pop out of the camera and you don't get obviously any electricity. So make sure these pins touch the ones from the battery. My recommendation for a micro SD card is this one here. 256 gigabytes will give you round about 9 hours of recording time in 4K with about 25 frames per second. And at the back sides are the pins, and these pins need to show outside while the colored side needs to show inside the camera. Here's the slot for the micro SD card. Push this card in there, use your nails, push on it, and now the card is stowed. If you would like to get out the card to see your footage on your computer, push on it, and then the card will pop out. So make sure the pins face this direction, towards the display. That's a USB-C card reader, and it has 2 card slots, one for SD, one for micro SD, to take all the footage onto your computer. Obviously you can use the charging cable from the GoPro, which is included, to connect it to your computer, but however it's just one USB-C port from one side for the camera, and it's a USB-A port to the other side. So if you have any new computer like a MacBook Pro M1 version, they don't have USB-A ports anymore, they just feature USB-C. So get one of these card readers for about 10 to 15 bucks to get all the footage onto your computer. That's the most convenient way in my point of view. I'm not connecting the camera, I'm just connecting the micro SD card. So this will be our working environment for the next hour while I go through the GoPro menu, while I will show you every important thing you need to know about this camera. The tripod is really great because it has also a ball head included, and it used to be actually a monopod. So you can attach this one here. Really simple. I use it a lot of times on my DSLRs and mirrorless cameras for shooting video, and yeah, it's highly recommended, and just you can see how I work here. I'm recording this video using the Canon EOS R5 and the RF 35mm 1.8 macro lens. Let's jump into it. To turn on and off the camera, use the power button here at this side and push it for 2 seconds. The LED will turn on and the monitor will turn on. You will hear some beep, 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 beep. And now we start by selecting our language. English will be our preference today. You have more languages than that. All of them are shown here. and tap on the arrow up here. Some legal stuff, you need to agree on that one. GPS, I will use it on this camera, however, it takes a little bit more of your battery, but it's useful if you're in the jungle or in the desert and you would like to have the GPS coordinates later on for your footage, so it will be included in the file to see it on a map like Google Map later on in some editing programs. So I will turn it on. Now that's the GoPro Quick app, which is available for free for Android and iOS. I can highly recommend to download it. However, we'll skip this part by actually going back and say skip setup. Now we need to select the current date. Today is the 10th of October. No, today is October the 16th, 2021. And I think it's more 10:40 and not 9:40. You can select AM, PM or 24 hours. So here's the screen. As you can see, it's way too bright. So I will dim it by going into the menu, swiping from left to the from right to the left, preferences, displays, at the bottom, brightness down to about 10%. Going back out of the menu, we're here on our home screen. The memory card is attached to the camera. It might be empty because I can see now I gave you a wrong time at the beginning. We can record now in 4K 30 frames per second in wide with stunning 10 hours and 26 minutes. We are in the film mode. We have 71% battery. We have some symbols down here, which we will come in a minute. And first of all, let's jump into the quick menu from here. Swipe from the top to the bottom. GPS is turned on. The app is not connected to the camera at the moment. You have two options here, symbolized by these 2 points. That's the time, here's the date. Let's start with the first point here and select it. That's voice control, and it's now asking keep current language English, and we say yes. Now what it's doing, to have all the examples, swipe from the right to the left, select preferences, voice control, and down here are commands. Now I can say, for instance, GoPro, start recording. GoPro, start recording. GoPro, stop recording. Really useful if you don't have your hands available, for instance, if you go skiing or snowboarding or surfing, really useful. From the top to the bottom, right to left, preferences, voice control, commands. Here are some other commands that you can use or which you would like to read through. For instance, GoPro start time-lapse. GoPro start time-lapse. Now the GoPro is taking a time-lapse video. GoPro stop time-lapse. GoPro take a photo. GoPro turn off. Cool, isn't it? I turn back on the camera by pressing 2 seconds on the button, which is here on this side. Swipe from the top to the bottom, and I would like to show you just one more thing. Voice control. It's on at the moment. You can select a different language for voice control. So the camera will be in English, while for instance your choice would be to give the voice controls in German. So that is possible as well. here are the commands. They are on the GoPro website as well if you want to read through them. Go back and I will turn voice control off for the purpose of this review. You heard all the time these beep, 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 beep. It's useful in some scenarios. For instance, if you don't see the camera or if you give your camera some voice controls to hear a feedback if the camera is doing what you told the camera to do. However, for the demonstration of this video, I will turn them off because they're annoying at the moment. Quick capture, in my point of view, really useful thing. Let me turn it off to demonstrate what is happening then. Now they're all in gray and I turn off the camera by pushing the button here on the side for 2 seconds. Now you have a start and a stop button at the top of the camera. If I push that for 2 seconds, nothing happens. Turn on the camera here at the side. Now you don't hear this beep anymore. Top to bottom and turn this point on, selected quick capture on. Let me turn off the camera. Now the camera is off, and let's say you are walking through a foreign city and you saw something which is really interesting. You would like to take a small video clip of it and you don't want to run through the menu, selecting camera mode or selecting video mode, selecting 4K or 5K, whatever. Push that button up here for 2 seconds. The camera will turn on and it will start to record a video straight away. And you see that because the LED is on and up here is the time running. If you push that button once again, the camera will stop to record the video and it will turn off straight away. So that is called quick capture. Useful thing, I leave it on. Next point I would like to speak about is this one here, that's screen lock on. So I can't do anything at the moment. To unlock the screen, do this. Now you can use it. If you would like to see a grid, that's now here, gray lines. Sometimes it's useful to adjust the camera towards the horizon. And here's the front screen, which we will come at the end of this review. This is the orientation locked. That means the camera is not turning the footage while you turn the camera. That's basically what it's doing. So if you would like to turn in the upright position, it's always filming in the upright position. If you would like to film yourself in the horizontal position, it keeps it and it's not turning the footage by itself. And here's the max lens mode, which is only available to select if you changed the max lens mod at the top here. So I don't have this additional mod at the moment, so I can't select this point. As I told you, you have 2 different menu points up here. So swipe from the right to the left. Connections we will have a look later on when we will select the smartphone to this GoPro and transferring files. Now let's tap on preferences, run through it very quick. General, here's the beep beep beep. The beep tone has 3 different levels, low, medium and high. Quick capture is on, we spoke about it. Default preset. That means choose the preset your GoPro captures in when you turn on using the mode button. So if you are not in filming and the main purpose of the GoPro is to take photos, you can select photo mode, for instance, or time-lapse mode, and the camera turns on always with the mode you selected the last time. In my point of view, video makes more sense because I'm filming more, so that's why I use this one. Auto power off, a really useful thing if your camera should be on for the duration of your project. And there are a lot of times which you can select. If you select never, your GoPro dies suddenly because the battery will die eventually. And my point of view, 5 minutes will work. Obviously the camera is not turning off if you record a time lapse or a video. That was my iPhone, sorry for that. LEDs, they are all on at the moment. You can turn all LEDs off. So here's one LED, at the back side is one LED. And this is a useful point because if you would like to use your camera as a spy camera, for instance, you don't know what your neighbor is doing while you're on vacation and you would like to place your GoPro in your garden connected to a power source, and you would like to do a time-lapse video of the entire 2 weeks while you're away, make sure to turn off the LEDs. Otherwise, your neighbor might see it in the bushes. What is blinking there? Well, it's a camera and he probably steals your GoPro. So select it off if you would like to record any people out there. I will leave them on because I'm not spying on my neighbors at the moment. It's just useful for me to see because I don't have this beep tone on if the camera is doing something by seeing one of these LEDs. Anti-flicker, a really important point, because if you change to 50 Hertz, you can change the frame rates. Let's go back. Tap on the lower side here. It says 4K 25, and here you can select the different frame rates. We're now recording in 4K, 25 frames per second. I can now select 24 frames, but I can't select 30 or 60 frames because we are filming with a different format. So we are filming now in PAL instead of NTSC. If I go back to general and I select anti-flicker 60 Hertz, which is used in the United States, while 50 Hertz is being used most of the time in Europe. For instance, in Germany, I film in 4K 25 frames, while my colleagues in the United States film with 4K 30 frames per second, or even 50. Right now, if I jump back onto this point, selecting a different frame rate or resolution, the 25 frames are gone and the 50 frames are gone. However, I have a higher frame rate up to 120 frames per second instead of a maximum of 100 frames. So the anti-flicker basically changes the video format to PAL or NTSC. Go out of this menu. Let's jump back to the point where we were at. We leave it at the moment in 60 Hertz. It's fine for me. Video compression. You can change to H.264 plus HEVC or leave it in HEVC. You can change the time here if you accidentally selected the wrong time, the date and the date format. To go out of the submenu, simply push on the arrow on the upper left side. Voice control, we spoke about it. Display is very quick. Orientation is all on, or I leave it in landscape. So if I turn the camera right now in portrait mode, it will flip the screen and all the symbols that you've seen now when it comes to video recording are at the bottom. Screensaver. If you do a time-lapse video and you would like to save some battery, turn the screensaver on and it will blank to both displays. For this demo video here, I would like not the display to turn off, so I keep it at 5 minutes. The brightness level is at 10% now, just to have a better view on the monitor while I record this video. Screensaver front, set your camera's front screensaver and I match it to the rear, or I never turn it off. Go back, regional. In here you can select a different language, GPS on and off. Mods, we spoke about it, GoPro updates, camera info, battery info. Useful if you get a used GoPro and you would like to convince yourself about the battery level. jump into that menu point, and here you can see, well, the battery health is excellent, battery type, it's compatible with this GoPro. Jump back. Regulatory, I never read through that one. Reset. Interesting. If you don't want to select all the videos and photos you took using your GoPro and you would like to get rid of all of them at the same time while you did already a backup at home, simply push Format as a D card and then it will delete all the files at the same time. You can restore them with some programs out there, but they will be overwritten once you start to record a different video or if you continue to take photos using the GoPro. Reset presets. We come to the presets point later on. If you would like to sell your GoPro, there's a different point which is interesting for you. Go back to preferences, go to the bottom, reset. It says factory reset. If you sell your GoPro to anyone out there who you don't want to share your knowledge with which frame rate recorded or in which format, go to factory reset. It will not reset your SD card, but it will reset all the settings you choose on that camera. For instance, the date, the time, the language, the format, whatever. Reset camera tips. There are always some tips on this camera which will pop up while you select a different menu point. If you eventually skipped a point or by mistake and you would like to get this hint back again, this camera tip, just go on reset camera tips and you can see it again. So that is the menu, and let's go to our first topic, video mode. So let's continue. On the upper right side, we have 66% battery remaining. That symbol here is the image stabilizer. Hold on for a second, I pressed the wrong one. I'm speaking about the upper one. You can turn off the image stabilization and you have a high mode and a boost mode, which will crop in a little bit. You can see that here at the window. Let me turn it off very quick. And now you have a little bit more on your camera sensor. Since the camera does image stabilization by cropping in and doing some algorithms, I don't know really how it works, it will crop in a little bit. I have to say that at the beginning. Down here is the, if you ask me which mode I'm using most of the time, I'm in high. That's sufficient for my work. The symbol down here is just a magnifier, so if you think that you need to crop in a little bit, you can start to record a video by doing so. That isn't a problem. If you would like to stop the video, just press that button on the top once. It doesn't enhance the image quality, I have to say that as well. So the image quality doesn't get better just because you zoom in. It's just a little help for you if you're not too close to something and you want to get a little bit closer. Keep in mind this magnifier down here. On the upper left side, since this camera is now able to record 4K slow motion videos, you will be able to do that by just doing so, and down and on the upper left side it shows you now 4 times slow motion. Since I am now recording in 4K with a Paul selected, the maximum frame rate for this video would be 100 frames per second. If you would go to 120 frames per second, check out preferences, and that was regional, no, not regional, it was general, and change to 60 Hertz. And I'll show you straight away what it does. So if you go now on a 4 times slow-mo, it will be able to record a 4K slow motion with up to 120 frames per second. You can do also 60 frames per second, 30 frames, and 24 frames. So that's basically just the speed of the video. It might be that the camera just gives you a 4K video with 120 frames per second output and doesn't show you any slow motion. So what you have to do in the app, the GoPro Quick app, is just to select a different speed, or at home, if you're using, for instance, iMovie or Final Cut Pro, just select a different speed when it comes to slow motion. For instance, just replay the video with just 50% of the speed or 25 frames of the speed. That's a really interesting point down here. You have 4 different versions, of actually 5 different versions of the field of view. That is narrow, that is linear plus horizon leveling. I'm really sorry about that. Horizon leveling. That means if you're flying an airplane and you have attached the GoPro to the flight deck and you're flying a turn, the camera will automatically stabilize the horizon. So the horizon will always be at level. That's basically what it means. Linear, as you can see now, the window, the edges are quite straight. So it will straighten all the edges. If you go to wide, as you can see, you get more in frame. However, you have now this kind of fish eye look. And up here is the super view. You get the most amount on your camera sensor. However, the edges are a little bit distorted. The mode I use to shoot in is wide or linear. Down here, if you would like to change anything in video mode, that means if you would like to change the resolution, if you would like to change the frames per second, the lens, the image stabilizer, press down here. And as you can see, there are some kind of resolutions that are grayed out at the moment and some are in white color. So these down here are in white. That means you can select now 4K, that's the resolution, and that's the frames per second. I can now record in 4K 24 frames per second. I can also select the 30, 60 or up to 120 frames per second. However, the maximum that you can record in 4K is 4K 120 frames per second. If you would like to record in full HD, as you can see now, you will be able to do that with up to 240 frames per second. Go to 2.7K and that's the only option you have. You can record in 2.7K with 60, 120 or 240 frames per second, but not in 24 or 30. If you select 2.7K in a 4.3 format, you can only record in 60 and 120 frames per second. In 5.3K, it's not possible to shoot 120 frames per second. It's only possible to record in 30 or 60 frames per second. I think you get what I mean. Here's the lens again. As you can see, white, hyper smooth. That is the image stabilizer. Scheduled capture, quite interesting. For instance, if you have a sport event and you don't have any friend who's standing at the side who will be able to record your sport event, just place the GoPro on a tripod like this. Say, well, my sport event starts at, for instance, I don't know, 11:40, or let's say 11:53. You can also select PM and AM, and then the camera will automatically start to capture your sport event at this time. You can also set a duration. For instance, your sport event will take, the duration of your sport event will be 5 minutes or up to 3 hours. Select, go out of the menu, I'll show you what changes now. You're all set. You can turn off your GoPro to save battery. Okay, don't show this again. And up here is now a blue field, and that is saying at 11:53 the camera starts to record a video for 3 hours. go back onto the settings and I will turn that off. I think you know what I mean. If you have something where you have to take the camera away, where you can't rely on your friends that they will record you or anything like that, that is maybe useful for a time-lapse video, use this feature called Scheduled Capture. And I will turn that off as well. And if I go back into video mode, the blue field is gone. Let's speak a little bit more about video mode. You have some other features like hindsight, capture video with hindsight off. Your video will start when the shutter button is pressed. Then you have all these little options down here. What it basically says is start your video with a 15-second of footage capture by your camera before you press the shutter button to record. Cool feature. If you hear some background noise, that's my little cat which is jumping around me, just to let you know. Timer, quite interesting. If you need to take off your hands from the camera, you can start a video, for instance, in 10 seconds. Let's do it. Now the timer is running and the camera will start to record a video in 10 seconds, for instance, or 3 seconds. Up here is now the time, it's running. Stop the video by pressing the shutter release button once. Go back into video mode. I will turn off the timer because I don't use it that much often. Zoom. Protune is quite interesting for everyone out there who is interested in post-editing some files or who wants to have some manual control over the video footage. For instance, here you can select the bitrate, you can select the shutter by yourself. For instance, if you need a fixed shutter speed, here's the aperture compensation. For instance, if your footage turns out to be always a little bit too dark, select some more stops and it will be a little bit overexposed. If you think your footage is overexposed, just go down here. I leave it at 0. White balance, if your footage turns out to be a bit too cool, just warm it up. And if your footage tends to be a bit too warm, just cool it down. I leave it in auto. ISO minimum, ISO maximum for video recording is 6400. Sharpness, you can select it down here. Color, you can change between a flat profile if you would like to do some color grading in post, or that's a vibrant. Most of the time I go with natural. Raw audio, wind compensation, you get some small side information right here, what it does. So that's for everyone who is interested in manual control. You will have the Protune window in every kind of mode. Doesn't matter if you do time-lapse videos, if you do photos with your GoPro, you always have that field down here. Shortcuts. Let me show you what shortcuts are. These ones are shortcuts. So on the upper right side is now the image stabilizer, which I think is quite a good kind of spot for a preset. The zoom function, I don't use it that often, but I leave it there for a second. The speed is also quite good to have on the main screen. Let's get rid of the zoom by going down to shortcuts. I think I said presets, I meant shortcuts. And here it says lower left, lower right, upper right. We would like to change the lower right shortcut from zoom to something else. Let's take color. Go back. The zoom feature is gone, and from your main screen you can change immediately from a flat profile to a natural profile or a vibrant profile. Easy, isn't it? I think you get what I mean with shortcuts. if you would like to restore the shortcuts to the factory settings, just tap on Restore. These ones are kind of different presets. In this case, it makes sense to call them presets. So this one is the mode you selected now. From now on, you will record your videos in 5.3K with 60 frames per second in wide. If you think that 5.3K is a little bit too much and you need something else, let's say activity, and you need more frames per second, just change to 1080p, 120 frames per second, for instance. The lens will change to linear because we need some straight edges, for instance, yeah. And we need some more image stabilization. We don't need a scheduled capture, no duration needed. Protune settings, we will skip that for a moment. And if you see it now, that's the activity preset. That means you can easily change from 1080p 120 frames per second if you do some action filming to by just tapping on the other preset. As simple as that. You can also create your own preset, and that's quite interesting. That's a really interesting point that has been in the past in the GoPro menu somewhere else, but from here on you can select, for instance, if you would like a looping mode. Looping is quite interesting. Let's assume you're doing always the same kind of moves and you don't want to have like 1 hour of the same moves because you think you will be able to do the correct move after whatever 20 minutes. And you don't want your SD card to be full that quick. You can select a looping mode. That means save SD card space by recording in a continuous loop until you captured the moment you want. Cool. Kind of interesting for sport events. Down here you can select, for instance, 4K 30 frames per second. You can change the field of view. Interval will be in this case 20 minutes, 60 minutes, up to 120 frames per minute, 120 minutes. I will select now 20 minutes. Timer, I will turn it on to 3 seconds. Shortcuts are not needed. And now I can choose a name for this kind of preset. Let's call it skate. That's good. And now you created your own preset. Let me tap on that one. Now we have 4 presets on your camera screen. That means if you tap directly on skate, the camera will start to record a video in 4K, 30 frames per second, in a 20-minute continuous interval. So the camera always rewrites the data from the last 20 minutes. It's like an endless tape, like a flight data recorder, for instance, in super view. Start a video. As I showed you, we have selected a timer for this video, so the camera will start with a timer, so you will be able to go in front of the camera, and from now on you can do your movements, for instance, and after 20 minutes, the first minute will start to be overwritten by the camera. So the camera will not go beyond 20 minutes of video recording. Super interesting for sport. If you think that you don't need this preset anymore or you want to put it to a different space, just do the following. Now it's right here, and if you would like to delete this preset, just use this little X. And now it's gone. And as you might have seen, we have selected now 5.3K with 60 frames per second in wide. That means we need more space on our memory card. That's why the SD card has now a capacity of only 7 hours and 36 minutes. Because the higher the resolution, the more frames per second you require, the more memory card space you will need. That was the video mode, and now we go into photo mode. How you go into photo mode? Easy, swipe from the right to the left. If you would like to go back into video mode, from the left to the right. If you have your gloves on and you can't touch the screen, just tap on the power on and off button for less than a second to change between the different modes. We are now in photo mode. I don't take too many pictures with the GoPro. Sometimes it's useful to have a photo instead of a video, so it's nice that the camera does it. And I have to say something. I think personally that one of the biggest improvements of the new GoPro Hero 10 is not just the higher frame rates in certain resolutions, it's also that the low light performance, which has increased a lot if you compare the GoPro Hero 9 to the GoPro Hero 10. That's my personal opinion. So let's speak about the photo mode very quick. On the upper left side, you have inserted a memory card. You can take more than 999 pictures. With the current SD card, probably more than 10,000. 55% battery remaining. From here on, choose the type of photo you want to take. It's nice sometimes for beginners to have these shortcuts. So we're now taking a super photo. To be honest, I think a super photo is something where the camera tries to make the best out of the current scene. It's something in between an HDR picture and a normal picture. It gives you the most dynamic, in my point of view. I don't really see the difference between the HDR and the super photo. There must be something. If you know it, place a comment below this video so all the other people out there will be able to know it, what that means. To take a photo, just tap on the shutter release button once, boom, picture taken. And I will put in now some pictures how they look like. To change from super photo to HDR, high dynamic range. That's it, processing HDR. An HDR photo is something where you have a high dynamic range, like it's called. For instance, if you have a house which is in a shadow and a lot of sun behind the house would be most of the time dark if you would take a normal picture because it's in the shadow. And if you would like to get some more out of the house, so to get rid of the shadows, use HDR. Make sure you stand still with that camera because the camera takes 3 photos, one underexposed, normal exposed and an overexposed picture, and it combines them. This is a standard picture. I use standard most of the time. And RAW, quite interesting for everyone out there who likes to do some post editing with your pictures in a program like Adobe Lightroom, for instance. I take most of the pictures in standard or RAW. With RAW you have more options, but it takes a little bit more of your memory card. So, however, I have to say that if you take a picture in RAW, you don't have any options anymore. You can't zoom in, you cannot change the field of view as far as I know. No, the lens is fixed, it's always in wide, and there are some features missing and they are grayed out if you do a RAW picture. Let's continue with a standard picture to see all the other options you would have in photo mode. You have, of course, the zoom picture, which doesn't enhance the image quality. It's just a digital zoom. Up here you have a timer, quite interesting. If you would like to take a picture with you included, with your family, place the camera somewhere, press the shutter release button, go in front of the camera, and the camera takes that picture after 3 seconds have been elapsed. Up to 10 seconds are possible. On the lower left side, as I showed you in video mode already, you can change between the different lenses. That's narrow, that's linear, and that is the wide angle. So the wide angle is kind of a fisheye look. That's linear, the edges will be straightened. Let's discuss the photo mode here very quick. So if you take a normal picture or a super photo and not a raw, you can change obviously the lens. Here's the output. Again, super photo, HDR, standard or raw. I leave it in standard to see all the options. A scheduled capture, like seen before in video mode. If you think, well, tomorrow morning I don't want to wake up at 6 o'clock, just place the camera in the front yard and the camera will take the picture of the sunrise at 6 in the morning by going, for instance, at 6:50 or whatever. I turn it off, you get the point, I think. That's the timer, that's the zoom. Protune, as discussed before, for everyone out there who needs a little bit more manual control over all the settings, use Protune. Here are the shortcuts as seen before. So if you don't want to have the zoom on the lower right side, you can also go to whatever. Let me have a look. What can we use? Sharpness. And right now, instead of the zoom, you have a shortcut for the sharpness, not sharpness, which is now select to medium. You can use also high or low. I have medium selected for all my pictures. Go on here and let's see what else this camera offers. A live burst, quite interesting. The camera takes a series of shots with audio. All iPhone users out there, if you have live photo selected on your camera and you tap on it, the camera took a picture. However, there are multiple pictures with audio. That's basically the same principle here. Hello, 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 hello. Now the camera took a lot of pictures. To review those, swipe from the lower side to the upper side. See, the camera took 90 pictures with audio. Stop it. Here's the info button. So we took this kind of scene on the 18th of October 2021 at 12 o'clock. That was a live burst. We didn't use any zoom. The timer was off. Here you have all the options. You can delete this live picture from the memory card, or I can go and look for the correct frame I want. Let's use this one and make a highlight. Later on, when we get to the app, I will show you what you can do with the highlights. You can go through each frame and you think, oh, well, that was a cool frame when I had my hand right in front of the camera's lens. Let me keep that one. Another highlight, edit. And later on the app, I will show you what to do with that. That's a live burst. I never ever used this feature. If you go into it, you can see what you can change. Obviously, live burst, you can change the shortcuts, Protune, and there is no other lens to select when you do a live burst. As I said, I never used it and I don't know anyone who's using it. Maybe it's cool for Instagram boomerangs or something like that. Whatever, you can write a comment below for what would you use it, or if you use it daily, I would be pretty interested in for what. Burst, that's kind of the same, with the difference that the camera is not recording any audio. Right here you have the timer. You can select a different field of view. So narrow, linear, or wide. Let's use wide for a second. Here's the zoom function. And let's tap on the editing. Burst rate. On the left, these informations are quite useful, to be honest, because you can now select a different burst rate. That means set your GoPro to capture 10 photos in 3 bursts, or the maximum. The camera will now take 30 pictures in 10 seconds. Go back, push it. Let these 10 seconds be elapsed. I move my hands here to show you something. Now the camera took 30 photos in 10 seconds. I think you get the point. Down here are the shortcuts. This one is turned off. Oh, burst rate might be quite interesting to have on the burst. So up here I would be able now to change on a shortcut how many frames I would like to have for the next shot. Night photo, also really useful in my point of view if you are out quite a few times and you don't want to waste the shutter of your expensive DSLR or mirrorless camera. Take the GoPro with you because it does take some stunning night photos if you know what to do. Let me take one now. It's probably overexposed. Oh, let me have a look. No, it's still all right. And let me show you what you can do with night photography. So you can select a different lens, and the shutter is probably the most important point down here. The maximum shutter speed is 30 seconds on this camera. Place your GoPro Hero 10 Black on a tripod and try the following. Let the camera expose the next shot for 30 seconds. Take your phone or a torch and select the LED light from your phone and paint something in the air. Make sure the camera is not moving at this time and then see what you get out of it. Quite interesting for these kind of shots, or if you're, for instance, in the Rocky Mountains or the Grand Canyon and you would like to take a picture of the night sky with all the stars moving, you need a longer exposure time, and that's where we get to the shutter. In here we have a lot of light. That means we will see now a completely white out picture. As I told you, we don't need that, so delete it from your memory card to get the space back. Let me show you what you can do. Here you get also these kind of side information. Set how long your camera shutter stays open. Choose longer exposures for darker shots. That's basically what it means. Really cool for night time-lapse videos as well, but we will come to that point in a few moments. The output will be either in RAW or in standard. You can't take a super picture or an HDR picture during the night, which doesn't make too much sense either. If you think that, for instance, the night sky will be amazing in the morning at 1 o'clock and 50 minutes and you don't want to wake up at this time of the day, just place your camera somewhere and the GoPro will do a scheduled capture at 1:50 a.m. in the morning. I think you get the point what I mean. I turn this one off because I don't want to have my camera running at 1:50 in the morning. There's a timer, a zoom, Protune as discussed before, and the shortcuts. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the photo mode. If you have any questions on that, just put a comment below this video and I try to answer as quickly as possible, or you get an answer from all my other followers out there. Let's go to time-lapse mode. Next topic, time-lapse. Let's go into time-lapse mode. And the first point you will come across when you select time-lapse mode is time warp. Time warp is something that has been introduced with the GoPro Hero 7. I think it was in 2016, and it is one of the most coolest things I have seen on a GoPro camera. So a time warp video is basically a stabilized time-lapse video. If we would take a time warp now in 4K, auto speed selected in wide angle, we can do that for 4 hours and 43 minutes. We can select a different field of view. We can also enable the magnifier, and we can start by going into the time warp menu. You have the option to choose between 4K in a 4.3 format, 2.7K, 4K or 1080p. Most of the time I record in 4K because I have this 256 GB memory card, which isn't full that often, let's say it this way. Speed, the most important point in this menu. Let me select something else. Speed 10 times, that means speed up and stabilize your video by 10 times. Tip: 5 minutes of recording creates about 30 seconds of time warp video. So anytime I use this feature, I am either in 5, 10 or 15 speed, X speed. Let's say you're a pilot and you're crossing the Atlantic Ocean from America to Europe, and you want to have your Atlantic crossing in a stabilized time-lapse video. I would select, in this case, since it's a duration of about 4 to 5 hours, I would go for 30x speed. That means 5 minutes of recording creates about 10 seconds of time warp video. It's quite interesting. It's also kind of cool. If you walk behind your dog, you will create a really cool footage. Let's call it this way. If I would walk behind my dog, I would either select 5 or 10 times speed, and if I drive my car, I am either in 15 or 10 times speed. You can select a different lens, different speed. Scheduled capture doesn't make too much sense from now on. Duration, timer, zoom, Protune settings, as discussed before, they're always the same. And of course, you can select different shortcuts for this type of menu as well. Let's speak about time-lapse, which you can select on this point here. Resolution, you can choose between 1080p, 4K, 2.7K, 4.3K. I would suggest 4K. You can change to a different lens format. You can either select a time-lapse photo, so the camera takes individual photos in an interval that you have selected, and you need to merge them together in post, or you select time-lapse video. I noticed that I'm now in night time-lapse, but it's the same principle. So if you select time-lapse video, that means the camera will take a picture at the interval you have selected, and it merges them together to a final video. Interval, make sure you select a lower interval by things that are happening quite quick. So if, for instance, if you're painting a picture or something, if you do something with your house, so you're getting a new roof, for instance, I would either go with a 30 or 60 second interval. That means the camera takes a picture every 60 seconds. Make sure it's connected to a constant power source, so the camera will not turn off. You can do that, for instance, with a power bank, which I will put into the video description as well. And at the end, it will merge all the pictures together to a final video. Select a longer interval for things that are happening not as fast as drawing a picture, for instance. And the difference between a time warp video and a time-lapse video is that the time warp video is stabilized while the time-lapse video is not stabilized. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend a time-lapse video for driving a car, for instance. Scheduled capture, duration, might be useful if you think, well, we have now a project that runs for 3 hours and I would like to have an interval of whatever, 10 seconds or even 5 seconds. Down here you have a tip that says at this duration your video will be about 36 minutes long by selecting a duration of 3 hours with an interval of 10 seconds. If you select 5 seconds, your video will be about 1 hour and 12 minutes long. So you don't need to calculate anymore, the camera will do it for you. Protune settings and shortcuts are available in time-lapse mode as well. Night time-lapse, really great. Really, I really love that feature. So like before, you can select a different resolution. I would stay in 4K. You can choose a different lens, narrow, linear or wide. The output will be either pictures or video. I would in this case leave it also in video mode. The interval, quite interesting. Set how often your camera takes a photo. Choose shot intervals for quick activities or long for extended activities. As discussed before, with a night interval, if you would like to record the night sky, I would probably go with 30 seconds and I would probably keep the shutter between 15 or 20 seconds. In this case, the camera takes a picture every 30 seconds and it will expose the picture for 20 seconds. Scheduled capture, in this case, quite useful because some people don't want to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to set up their camera to film the night sky. So I can highly recommend in this case to select a scheduled capture. You can also select the duration, let's call it for 2 hours. So at 3 o'clock in the morning, if I would now select a scheduled capture, the camera will take a night time-lapse video with an interval of 30 seconds with a shutter speed of 20 seconds. So it will expose in each individual shot for 20 seconds with a duration of 2 hours. So you don't need to wake up to turn on and off your camera. If it's cold, make sure your camera is connected to a power source. The timer doesn't make too much sense in this case. Protune and shortcuts are available here as well. So that was the time-lapse feature, and now I would like to show you how to control the front display, and after that we do a little bit with the GoPro Quick app. Everyone, that is the front display of my GoPro Hero 10 Black camera. Here are 2 black bars because we're in full mode. That means I see now on the front display everything that I would see on my back display. We would be able now to record 4 hours and 43 minutes in night-lapse mode with these kind of settings. If I would like to change to video or photo mode, tap on the power on and off button for less than a second. Now photo, time-lapse or video mode. If I tap on the shutter release button once, the camera starts to record a video seen up here and also indicated by these 2 LEDs, one here and one on the back side. We're now recording in standard mode, 5.3K, 60 frames per second in wide angle. The camera battery is dying, so I will connect it shortly to a power source. If I turn the camera around, let me show you the kind of settings you have for the front display. Swipe from the top to the bottom and select the display here. You can turn off the front screen completely, as seen here, so you don't have any indication if the camera is now on or off. Other options would be to have the status only. That means you don't see any footage up here, but you can see that we took already 16 clips. Like seen before, except that there's nothing moving here anymore. You have the status of your memory card, the battery, and we are now recording 5.3K 60 frames per second in wide angle. That is just the elapsed time of this video. If you would like to stop the video, just push the shutter release button once again. Let's go back here very quick. And let me show you the last point. That is full screen. That means you don't see the black bars anymore. However, the camera cropped in here a little bit. And it looks like this. So you see only the sensor, the middle of the sensor, and the video is basically cropped in. I've never used this mode here. Personally, I like the full screen because I see everything on the front display, what I would expect to see on the back display as well. So I'm not using that mode very often. The black bars are now gone. Doesn't make too much sense in my point of view. If you use it, just let me know for what, please. So I would stick with the actual screen because that is my favorite setting. And that was the front display, and now I will connect the GoPro to the Quick app. Let me introduce this thing here. That's a power port, which is super compact. It charges your MacBook, it charges your cameras, it also charges the GoPro at a really fast rate. It has 2 times USB Type-C and 2 times USB-A. It has power delivery, which is great, and that's the tool I'm using now to charge the camera using my iPad Pro cable or any other USB-C cable or I use the one from GoPro, which is probably this one here. And I can highly recommend this little dude here for all the work that you're doing if you have several electronic devices. It charges, by the way, the iPad Pro 12.9 inch from 0 to 100% in about 2 hours if you don't use it. For this demonstration, I will use my iPhone 11 Pro Max, 256 gigabytes, turn on the GoPro, which doesn't need to be in our view for the next thing, and swipe from the top to the bottom, go to connections, wireless connection on, and download the GoPro Quick app, which looks like this. It's available for free for Android and iOS. Everyone, make sure you select the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth on. Tap on the Quick app, which you have just downloaded. Turn off airplane mode or use Wi-Fi to access data. We don't need that for the moment, so if you're on vacation and you don't have Wi-Fi or your mobile network, don't worry, it will work anyways. Just my phone for now. Would like to send you notifications? Yes, why not? And there is a camera symbol on the upper right side. And there is now a new field. Quick is even better with a GoPro. Pair your GoPro. And now it's searching for my GoPro Hero 10 Black. We found your GoPro. Cool. Pair my camera. Say connect. Now on the front display of my GoPro it says connection successful. And we are now pairing these two with each other. Camera paired. If you would like to rename your camera, you can do that, or leave as GoPro 245711088. I would like to use the name which was just displayed right here. Let's go. So we're now connecting to our GoPro. There's nothing you need to do for the time being. A new feature is called upload your footage to the cloud while charging. Well, I don't have a GoPro cloud, so I skip this point for now. And I would like to have my footage on my personal computer instead on a cloud. Control your GoPro from your phone, try it out. So the GoPro is right here and it's pointing towards my phone. Just to let you know, let's enable preview, and now it says we'll connect to the GoPro Wi-Fi to enable the preview. Yes, let's go for it. Join. Connecting. And there we go. We are now in video mode. Same as on the camera display, you can switch between time-lapse and photo mode, or you can go even live. Here's the zoom scroll bar. The connection got much better, but it leaks around half a second behind the connection between the GoPro and the preview of your phone. Just to keep that in mind. We would be able to record now for 7 hours, 35 minutes with these settings down there, 5.3K, 60 frames in wide angle. GPS is turned on, Wi-Fi is turned on, the battery is charging. I have all the settings up here. For instance, voice control is disabled. LEDs are all on, default preset, last used is video, auto off after 5 minutes, and everything we would have been able to select on the camera ourselves, we can do that much easier from our phone's screen, by the way. I can turn off my camera from the upper right side as well. The zoom bar doesn't work too well, as you can see. If you kind of experience these problems or bugs, just close the app and open the app again. To start a video, push on that big button down here. The app says now preview not available because we are recording in 5.3K, 60 frames per second, and the camera and the iPhone's connection are unable to maintain this kind of preview with such a high resolution and frame rate. We're now recording for 23 seconds, 24 now, stop, and then the video has stopped. By the way, for everyone out there, I got asked so many times, how do I stop a video and continue straight away? That is not possible. We are not having a video camera with an old cassette inserted. That's the way it is at the moment. So if you would like to add multiple clips to each other, get this app, and you can do that in post by selecting all the clips you took and then putting them together in the app. To go into photo mode, nothing easier than that. Just press the camera symbol, take a picture. Now that was a night picture. Down here you have access to all the footage we took already together. By the way, as I said at the beginning, we will have a look at the highlights. Here's one, for instance, that was a highlighted picture from me. That is a live photo. I can delete this live photo from the storage of my GoPro by pressing this bin down here. Now it's deleting. I can go back. If I would go into time-lapse mode, nothing easier than that. Just push it. As you can see, the control of the GoPro using your phone is much easier than selecting everything on the display with your big fingers. However, if you don't want to have your phone with you at all times, for instance, while you are surfing, snowboarding, skating, it's nice that the camera has a touch display from which you can do everything that you can do from the app as well. We can go live, set up live. You can stream on these platforms and you must need to have an account, for instance, with GoPro.com, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, RTMP. Make sure if you want to go live, you have a stable connection. You are now able with the GoPro Hero 10 Black to stream, to go live, even in 1080p. And you can save the live footage later on the memory card of your GoPro as well. Really cool feature. Let me download some files. Let's take this one. That is a video file. Let's take this one. What else do I have here on the camera? Maybe this one. And I've selected now 3 items I would like to have on my phone. Push that download button. Now it says your download contains HEVC video. Not all phones are able to preview these kind of files. The download speed depends a little bit on the file size. It all depends mainly on the file size. And obviously what phone you're using. The newer your phone, the easier it is. View media, by the way, it's not saved in your library yet, but it's on the app. So if I would transfer these files onto my phone's memory, select them and push on that phone symbol right there. Save to photos. That should go quite quick. 1 second remaining. Tuck, tuck, tuck. Takes a little bit longer because it's a huge file. I think I recorded this one here in 4K. It's about 25 seconds long. Go to your library and here's the video, here's the picture, and here is another video I took with my GoPro. Here's the audio. I was taking some pictures of some leaves in fall, always looks great. And if you would like to share that footage now with your friend, make sure you either connect to your mobile data or use a Wi-Fi network around you, for instance from the hotel or your home network, and then push that symbol down there to share that file with your friends. If I would get rid of all these files which I just downloaded, here's a picture I took with the GoPro. Nice image quality even down here where I don't have too much ambient light. And let's jump back into the app. So the media we have selected from the camera, which is now on our phone, is in the app. It has been saved to our phone. I can go to edit, and in this editing I can select, for instance, these kind of files and merge them together with the GoPro app with an intro, for instance, an outro. You can select different kind of texts, layouts, frames. You can add music to it, themes, and down here select the length, the format. For instance, if you want to share your footage on Instagram, select 9:16. If you would like to share it on a normal Instagram feed, just select 1:1. There are different types of format, music, length, timeline. Add some new footage. You can also select stuff from your phone that you use to record with your iPhone camera. For instance, this thing here, let me deselect. Oh, the cat is really loud in the background. I don't think that it disturbs you that much. That is some footage that I took with my phone's camera. So The app allows you to combine all the video clips you took with your GoPro, with your phone, with your normal camera to basically a new video clip. The app is for free, and that's about it, ladies and gentlemen. I know it was quite long, and I hope you enjoyed watching this intense tutorial about the new GoPro Hero 10 Black. The principle is the same since the GoPro has that big display on its backside. I think it started with the GoPro Hero 5. If you would like to support my channel, feel free to purchase any of the shown products via the link listed in the video description below. For instance, the memory card, the tripod, the power port, the media mod, the GoPro itself, or an extra battery is all listed in the video description below. Make also sure to follow me on Telegram and Instagram, and if you do have any further questions, make sure to leave a comment below. There are other YouTube watchers who might answer your question faster than I can do it, because I don't see all the comments at once and I can't answer all of them. Thank you very much. All the best from the heart of Germany, Frankfurt am Main. See you very soon und bis bald. Tschüss. Tschüss.